So this is going to be the second video on this house project. The first video got a lot of interest, so thanks for everyone who watched and enjoyed that. I do realize what I'm doing is a little bit sketchy, but I'm going to address a bunch of comments and concerns that I kept getting on that first video. The biggest one was, why didn't I move this house over and then dig my hole, build my basement, and then slide the house back on top? So one reason is my utilities are still connected. So I'd have to disconnect my power and everything and then try to get temporary power and I didn't want to deal with any of that. So that was one reason, but also I think that would be more risky than what I'm doing here. So if I were to, before I dug anything, slide this house over and then dig my hole like you see here, when I go to slide the house back on top of the hole to set it on the new foundation, I think I would need a lot more infrastructure down here, like a lot more shoring towers and blocking and bracing and beam work to be able to slide that whole house safely on top of this hole and set it down. So I didn't really want to mess with that. I think that's way more risky than what I'm doing here. All I'm doing here is holding the house where it was at its existing location, and then when it comes time to pour the basement walls, I need to lift the house up a few feet and then set it back down. So a little bit of up and down movement, I think, is a lot less risky than sliding the whole house over. It's not a crazy idea. I've seen that done before, and I think it's relatively common when doing stuff like this, but this way I think is just gonna work better for me. I'm already here anyway, so, but that wasn't a terrible idea. Also, a bunch of people just kept asking why I didn't tear the whole house down and then start over. It would be way easier and cheaper to just tear it down and start over. I'm putting a whole addition over here also, but if we were just talking about this house, I don't understand their logic. So if I were to spend all the money on dumpsters and equipment to tear the house down, then I would still need to build the basement like I'm doing, and then I'd need to rebuild the house. So that didn't make sense to me. I already have the house, I'm just putting a basement under it, and it's a well-built house, so I thought it was worth saving. It's not, you know, the outside's a little bit ugly. I understand it's not the prettiest. I hate the siding. I will be changing the siding when I do the whole addition and everything. There was a chimney there, but I thought it was worth saving, so it wouldn't make sense to just rebuild the whole thing to me. So I do appreciate all the intelligent comments and concerns. There were a couple silly ones there, but a couple people thought that this wouldn't work and the whole house was just going to fall over. A 10-mile-an-hour wind, I think one guy said, a 10-mile-an-hour wind, and the whole house is going to fall over. So I understand it's not a bulletproof system, but it's not made out of popsicle sticks either. So I'm just doing it as safely as I can, and this is how I'm doing it, and I'm just showing you guys the process. So I appreciate everybody watching, but I got to get to work because it does worry me also. I'd like to get this thing back on a foundation so I'll be able to sleep a little better. So the next step here, you're gonna fall, dude. So my next step is to do the footer here. So I got to do the footer, and I replaced all this sill plate. Some of it was rotten, so I replaced my my sill plate all the way around, and then I plumb bobbed all the corners straight down to what you see here, and then I got a string line around. So that's going to be the edge of my block. So when I go lay out my footer right now, I'm just going to measure off that. That was the easiest way to follow the existing line of the house. So I'm going to measure off that and then start doing all my outside forms. After the footer's poured, then we can start stacking the ICF blocks. This stuff's called Formadrain. If no one's ever heard of it, it acts as the form for your footer and the drainage. So it goes on the outside, and I'm gonna put it on the inside too. So it holds your concrete in for the footer, but then it's slotted, so it acts as your drainage also. It's a little more expensive. I priced it all out if I were to buy the lumber for the forms and then all the pipe for the inside and outside. This stuff's still a little bit more expensive, but I think it was worth it. It saves just the screwing around. It's like a one and done. You just leave it in there. So I thought that was a better option. So I finished all the forms underneath the house, and I got the bottoms of it backfilled with stone so the concrete doesn't fall out. And then I got that corner around there. I need to finish laying out up front here. This is going to extend about 15 feet for the walkout basement garage out there. So I got to finish laying out for that. But first, I want to keep backfilling. I want to backfill all this because I think Andrew's coming over today to help me dig the trench, because I need a frost footer down, because that's going to be a walkout at ground level. So it's going to be harder to get the skid steer in here. So I want to get all this backfilled in first. So we got stone around all the forms that we have in so far. Still got to put those forms in, but most of them are in and backfilled. I was pretty low on grade over here, so that took a little bit of material to fill that in. So I don't waste concrete. I brought it up in the middle and backed it up on the sides. This is my first time working with this Forma-Drain, but I'm not really that impressed with it yet, really. It's flimsier than I thought, so it like bows, and you got to pin it a bunch to make it look nice and straight. I mean, I think it'll hold concrete, but I thought it would be more rigid. My dad made a bunch of these just like simple spacers out of 2x4s. So when the concrete's in here, it's going to want to push out, and this will hold the spacing. So I'll put them every 4 feet or something. The Forma-Drain brand makes like a metal tie that kind of dips down, and then you put your rebar on it, which I found out after I ordered this stuff. I wasn't smart enough to order those, but they make it just clamps on top and it holds your spacing, but I didn't see that when I was ordering this stuff. So, but next, we just got to dig this frost footing down, because this is a walkout. So we got to dig down 42 inches is the frost line here. And my plan is to just dig down a trench and fill that whole thing with concrete. So it'll be just a really tall footer. I'm going to use more concrete, but I think that's easier than screwing around. Some people would step down the footer and then pour it down in the hole and then build their block basement wall on top of that. But this seems easier to me, and I got the idea from Bondo Built, I think is the guy's name on YouTube. He does a lot of concrete work and ICF stuff, and he's got a lot of good tips and tricks. So he does that a lot, and it seems to make a lot more sense to me. So that's how I plan on doing it. Barely hit any rocks digging this whole thing, and right here seems to be the hardest spot. He's hitting a bunch of rocks and it's super tough dirt. That's a little bit sandy there, but he's hitting a bunch of rocks all of a sudden. this is how the water drains from the inside form a drain to the outside. They make these adapters and they put a 4-inch pipe to connect them. And then when I turn the corner here, I'm just going to turn my corner on that. And then I have one more of these pieces that'll put on the outside drain. This is the outside walkout wall. I'll put this one right here and then have my drain pipe. This is going downhill, even though it doesn't look like it. My drain pipe will flow out that way. So it'll drain the inside and outside footer drains. And I have one more over here because this, under the existing house, this is gonna get boxed out too. So I need a way for the water on the inside to flow to the outside. So I have one more right here. And then I left this out because my plan to pour the concrete is to get the skid steer in here and just shuttle the concrete and pour all this. And then once we work our way out of this, I'll just close that up and fill it. So now, before I can finish forming up that, I just got to make some sketchy bridge to drive the skid steer across. So it's ready for the concrete. Then I can finish forming this up. All right, I should be ready for concrete. It'll be here in a few hours. Got some help coming. I finished forming everything, putting my rebar in, and I just got to clean some stuff up so I can get the skid steer to scoot around. And yeah, I hope everything goes well. It should be a good day. So I'm gonna back the trucks up right there, fill the skid steer up, scoot that around, try not to knock the house down, and yeah, see how it goes. All right, the last truck just left. It's 3 trucks. We were just, we just barely made it. We're scraping to get a little bit. We're gonna be a touch low on the front here, but not bad. What do you think? We got the best finish guys around. It's a lot of work. It's a hot day. But it looks pretty good. The form's held together. It's a lot of work getting those corners with the skid steer. Yeah, the corner, he wants me to tell you about the corners. The corners sucked. So we took all our temporary wood off, or most of it, all the way around, so we can clean up around those dowels better. Be easier to set my ICF forms. It's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be, just flat enough to set those forms. I just rechecked the grade everywhere. I'm within a ½ inch everywhere, so I think, I mean, I'm not a concrete guy, but I think that's fine for my footer here. And in the front there where I was a little bit low, my form was actually a little bit high, so I'm still a ½ inch low there right on the front, but my form was high, so I'm not as bad as I thought. And that doesn't really matter because I'm gonna have 2 garage doors there, and my basement floor is gonna be on top of that, so that'll be fine. But it's a lot of work. Reminded why I don't do concrete. We could have used a couple more guys. Those corners were really hard. I didn't think about getting to those corners, was pretty tough. But I didn't really want to pay for a pump truck. Would have been a lot easier, but I didn't really want to pay for it. So just shuffling around with concrete or with the skid steer, and just owe a bunch of favors to all my help. So also with this, I don't know if I mentioned this, this has got a little jog in the form. I promise that's on purpose because that's my outside wall right there where those dowels are, and this is going to be an inside load-bearing wall. So it's got different centers. So that's the center of my outside wall, and then my center for this inside wall changes. So that's why it's got a little jog in it. But all the forms held together. It bowed out a little bit over here, so that didn't help with my yardage while I was a little bit short. I could have braced that up better, but overall I'm happy with it. It feels pretty good to finally, even though I did all this dirt moving and all this work, it feels like I'm finally starting now because I'm putting stuff in instead of taking it out, I guess. But I'm going to end this video here on the footer. The next video, which I'm also excited about, is starting these ICF walls. So I think that's going to go pretty good. I've never done it before, but I've watched plenty of videos and it seems relatively straightforward. So I'm going to do those walls. I am going to get a pump truck for that, pour the walls, and I got to lift this house up and set it on the new walls. So thanks for watching. See you on the next video.